Thought I'd bring you guys along on my after workout meal. I'm eating some vegan spaghetti, courtesy of the Pure Juice Vegan Food Joint here in Chicago. Brother's contact information. I will put his contact information underneath this video. But today I wanted to discuss addressing traumas. Addressing traumas. I read a book once called The Body Keeps the Score. And the book basically was about how our body keeps score of all the traumatic experiences we have in life, whether we deal with them or not. So, when addressing your traumas, the benefit, even though it may be difficult at the time to do so, is that you heal, and the healing you get from it benefits your future. If you don't address your traumas, what ends up happening is you end up carrying them on and on and on to your next relationships, to your next jobs, to your next experiences, and then you get older, time goes by, then you begin to wonder, why am I always attracting this thing? Or why is this thing always happening to me? It's because you haven't addressed it and you haven't gotten what you need to get out of it. Some traumas may be painful to walk through, and when you're walking through them, you tend to relive a little bit, and it causes hurt. But just like if you go through a surgery or you have a horrible injury or you hurt yourself, the healing sometimes is painful, and it doesn't always go away, and there's not always medicine for it. And sometimes you gotta feel it again to know not to go through it again. And I'm not saying this to say, you should set yourself back if you've overcame something. But trust me, we're all walking around with something that we could unload and let go and not carry on into our future. I had a lot of trauma from like my past relationship, and periodically, and be mindful that some triggers that you may have, you may not know about them until they occur. Just because something's happened to you doesn't mean it automatically just downloads a manual to triggers that's what's going to trigger you from that situation. So some triggers you may not know until it occurs. But I have a lot of trauma from my past relationship. So it took me time. It took me almost like 2 years just to heal from the trauma of that past relationship. And it took me time to not look at the next person in my life as that same person. And it took me time to be aware of the fact that it was happening. Because sometimes you may hear certain words, see certain things, a person may say a certain phrase, even down to like the smells of a person, or how a person may dress or carry themselves can just trigger you. And you be like, wow, I didn't even know that would happen. And it's up to you to be aware of that enough to catch yourself and say, hey, all right, this person is not that person. And you have to give everyone a fair shake and a benefit of the doubt. Because once you start painting everyone with the same brush, that's your issue. That's not that person's issue. And so you have to be very careful of that. And if it happens, just don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Just know that you're a person. You're a person that had a bad experience, or you're a person that had a traumatic experience, and you're growing and healing from it. And if you stay on the path to growth and healing, and not just own it and put it in the bag and carry it, you tend to be better later in your future. And I've found that even in my industry that I work in, as far as talking to people, and even for myself, you'll tend to put stuff in a bag and just carry it. Put stuff in a bag and just carry it. Put stuff in a bag and just carry it. Before you know, you carry this heavy bag of all this stuff that you could have just dealt with. And when you carry that stuff in the bag, this is what you end up saying after time passes. Excuse me. This is what you end up saying after time passes. Oh, that's just me. This is just who I am. This, you just gotta, this is just who I am. No, it's not. It's who you are with what caused you to be that way. It's who you are with the hurt that you're carrying. It's who you are who's carrying that heavy bag full of pain, regret, different traumas, different experiences that you could have just looked at and walked through it and let it go. I'm not saying forget it. I'm just saying let it go and change the perspective of the story. If you were abused, take the fact that that abuse gave you strength and it makes you stronger to protect yourself. I'm not trying to be insensitive, and no, I am not a professional. I'm just a person that has lived life. But we have to try to get enrichment out of things. And if you're a believer in faith, no matter what faith you call it, in every story or parable or scripture that you read, it's always this hardship and this struggle and this pain and this horrible story. And it's supposed to give us enlightenment. So why can't your stories, experiences give you enlightenment? So address your traumas. Address your traumas. Please, please, please. Because a lot of times it's the thing that may be holding you up and blocking you from receiving a lot of things in your future. And you may miss a lot of things. When I was coming out of my relationship, a lot of people told me I moved like this, with my head down. And I would come and do my job, hi, bye, do my job to the fullest, and then barely say bye. And I kept my head down. And I was hurting. I will honestly admit. I was hurting. My heart was breaking every day. I won't say depressed, but I was in a state of depression. And I didn't want to see anything. I didn't want to look up. I didn't want to. And the thing is to admit when that happens and when that occurs in life. Because if you don't, you'll never be able to attend to it. You'll never be able to make amends with it. You'll never be able to fix it. And some things may be left undone. And that's why the importance of you changing the outcome and getting the enlightenment from the story is important for your healing. And I just knew that I recognized the day when I lifted my head up, and it was almost like I was outside of myself, looking at myself. And it was almost like, wow. I used to pay attention to the sky. Look at the sky. The sky's still beautiful. Wow. Sun got in my eye. Wow. Fresh air. Wow. Look at that. Wow. Smell that. Wow. I'm in a grocery store. Smell bakery goods. Oh wow. It's like it was just like I remember the day my head lifted up. And then I remember the day I started paying attention more to people that were around me. And it's people that I had been teaching in my classes that I hadn't even noticed. One of them was my fiance. Hadn't even noticed that she was in my class. She took a few of my class, didn't even notice. Because I was in mode doing my job and getting on back to the traumatic situation that I was exiting. So again, I'm not a professional. you know, but I will tell you, as a human being that has had experiences in my 45 years, I can say that I have experience of the benefit of addressing my traumas and not letting my traumas hold me up from my future or blocking anything that I need to see or anything that I may need to hold my hands open to catch or anything that I may need to hold my arms open to hug or anything that I may need to keep my mind open to see or anything I may need to keep my heart open to love or appreciate or be grateful for, and do this. Take a day, start from your toes all the way up to the top of your head and count how many things you can be grateful for. If you get through the whole day, then you skipped a lot. If you get through the whole day, then you skipped a lot. Because once you start at your toes, you haven't even gone on the inside of your body. You can say, yeah, I'm grateful, thank God, I'm grateful for my toes that wiggle and the hair on my head and my fingers. But you haven't even gotten to the internal stuff, your heart, your lungs, your spine, your ribs, your stomach, your esophagus, your brain, the fact that you get airflow and blood flow, the fact that, okay, this hand may not work, but you can still wiggle the fingers over here. The toes may cramp over here, but you still can do this. Your knees, your joint. It's like, there's so much every day to be grateful for. And if we take time to do that more periodically and more often, we'll be combating a lot of the things that hurt us and harm us inside because we so overwhelmed with gratefulness. So I'm going to leave it on that note. Stay grateful, address your traumas, and not always, as always, fight for your life. And I appreciate everyone who's checked in. I'm going to slide up here from behind this meal here and look at how many of you guys who have checked in here. There's not chicken nuggets, it's vegan spaghetti, man. Yeah, but I appreciate you guys. I'll give you guys some shout outs here. I'll start from the top. Enemy, Lover, Please Sub, uh, Henny, YTG, Isaac, L Sprunky, Anime again, your boy Will. But I appreciate you all. And man, please, please, please address your trauma. And as always, fight for your life. Peace.